As the Six Nations passes the midway point, the opportunities to impress Lions coach Andy Farrell are getting fewer and fewer. Who's playing well? Who's beating a contender from another nation? Well, this past weekend in the Six Nations was Lions weekend with all the home nations playing each other. It was a huge opportunity to impress. In this video, I'm going to be giving you my Lions 15, just the starting 15, based solely on performances over the first 3 weeks in this year's Six Nations. I'm going to try not to go over old ground, things I mentioned in the previous video. Go and check that one out up there if you haven't seen it yet. That was after round 2. But just kind of the movers and shakers. What's been happening? Whose stocks have risen? Who's fallen away slightly maybe? And including, obviously, there's been some selection changes as well based on this last weekend. Okay, so starting with the loose head position, and quite a few genuine contenders here, I think. Schumann and Sutherland from Scotland, Thomas and Smith from Wales, Andrew Porter from Ireland, and Ellis Genge from England. A lot of people there. The Scots, I don't think really changed too much this week. Both had solid performances, but nothing special. And the Welsh ranks, Nicky Smith definitely went up a few notches. He had a great day out against the Irish, doing what most people know he can do, like a real nuggety, gritty, scrummaging prop who can actually carry as well. We didn't see it at the weekend too much, but he can carry pretty well too. So his stocks definitely rose. Andrew Porter, maybe his went down a few little bits, conceding a few penalties at scrum time. I've spoken about this in some of the comments section. Like, he's very, very strong, but sometimes you just need to rein that in to make sure you don't give away penalties. It's a difficult balancing act for him to take, but it's something that I think Ellis Genge is actually starting to get a grip of. He played really well again this week, scrummaged well, shows up in the loose all the time. So for me, he takes over as my number one loose head so far in this Six Nations. Ellis Genge in my team. On to the hookers, and we spoke about Kelleher, Ashman, Jamie George, Dan Sheehan being the man in possession when I did the video last time. Kelleher out injured this week, so he's stayed as. Ewan Ashman had a pretty solid outing for Scotland, but I think Jamie George is the one who's really, his stock's rising a little bit in this battle. Dan Sheehan, for him, had a relatively quiet game with a few errors, but his ceiling is still so high for me that he absolutely maintains his shirt in my Lions 15. On to the tight head, and we've got a new contender. Somebody who hasn't even played in this championship so far, and he had an outstanding game for Wales in Will Griff-John. Absolutely rock solid in the scrum, carried the ball like a titan. It might have been the best performance of his career. He's still got some way to go, some ground to make up on the others, because there's some great contenders here. Fagerson, a better game for Scotland than the week before, I would suggest. Bealham, who was benched but then came on to really shore up the Irish scrum. But it's Will Stewart who continues on the tight head for me, because his consistency of output, his scrummaging is now really, really getting quite strong. Winning penalties, the England scrums looked really good this championship, and he contributes a lot around the park as well. We haven't seen too much of his carrying, but he works so hard. So Will Stewart on the tight head. Second rows, and I mentioned in the previous video that we're lacking a little bit of depth here, I would say, but Joe McCarthy came back and had a pretty barnstorming game, to be honest. For his first game, he showed up a lot, doing the things he does. Physical, carried really hard, made the ground that created Jack Conan's try at the very start of the game. Ryan was off the bench this week. David Jenkins, again, a good performance for Wales, but Itoje keeps his spot. He is playing somewhere near his best, I would say. Could do with getting rid of a couple of penalties, I would say, per game or across the championship, but very close to his best. And on the other side of the scrum, other side of the second row, who we talked about before, Martin didn't play this week because of injury. Chesham and Tyburn was the incumbent. Well, Ollie Chesham, well, didn't he step up this week? England's line-out has been a bit ropey, let's be honest. And this week, it was supreme. I think it was 100%, and the quality of possession as well, which is really important. The quality of that possession was really high class throughout. Ollie Chesham was a big part of that. However, Tyburn is a phenomenal rugby player, and he did all the things that he normally does. Supports so hard, tackles, jackals. He's a complete player. So for me, Ty Burns still keeps that spot in the second row, but I think this one's getting quite close now because of Chesham's elite line-out work. On to the number 6 jersey, a new contender this week, I would say. Jamie Ritchie came in for Scotland and had a fantastic game against England, as he always does, dominating the breakdown for long periods. And if that's what you want from your 6, then Ritchie's your man. But he's up against strong competition. Conan played 8 this week. Ferguson wasn't even was on the bench, so neither of them. But Tom Curry, another outstanding performance from the England blind side. It was a close run thing, but over the championship now, I think Curry still has the edge. So Tom Curry at number 6 for me. Open side, and this again, huge number of contenders here. Darge, Van der Fleer, Ben Curry, lots and lots of contenders, but I think Jack Morgan might have even had his best game for Wales so far this championship, in a much better performance for Wales as well. He was wearing number 6 this week, but I'm still considering him for the number 7 jersey. He's just, it's really close, and you'd be delighted to have any one of these guys. But for me, Jack Morgan is just doing it. Like I don't know what it is. It's his grittiness, his determination. It's all of that stuff. To do that in a Wales shirt while they were really having poor performances and still be able to do it when they're getting better again. Yeah, he gets it for me, Jack Morgan. On to the number 8 jersey, and we have Tom Willis now playing for England, who's had a pretty decent start, I'd say, to his 2 starts in this Six Nations. Not a real contender for this Lions number 8 shirt yet, but promising start. Dempsey had a good game for Scotland. Doris, obviously the incumbent from last time, injured this week and potentially missing the next game as well. In his absence, Taulopi Faletau has just come back into this Welsh side and playing fantastically well. So useful in the wider channels. Brilliant feet, nuggety at the breakdown. He does everything. He's a complete all-rounder. But we're going to need to see a bit more from him because Doris has played really well this championship. So, despite injury, Caelan Doris keeps his spot in my team. On to the scrum half ranks, and last time it was Mitchell, Thomas Williams and Gibson Park who were the runners. Mitchell had a poor game for his standards this last week for England. England tactically not getting the best out of him, not letting him do what he likes to do, his running, sniping game. He barely saw that. So I feel for him. It's not set up for him to play well in that system. Thomas Williams looked much more like his sniping best for Wales in a slightly different attack organised. He showed up much better and real genuine Lions contender like we thought he was going to be pre-tournament. But Jemison Gibson Park, man, he's just a level above. The kick for the Osborne try, just everything about his game, his work rate, his pace around the park, the ability to clear the ball from the base so quickly. It's a level above everyone else. And he is hands down the Lions starting number 9 for me. Fly half berth, and interesting this week because we saw it's really close. What we said before is it's really close between a number of people, I think. Finn Russell, first 2 games, hasn't played well. I'd say this week he actually, his general game got back up to a higher level of consistency, of option taking, and of course his elite kicking and passing skills. I'd say we didn't see a lot of Finn Smith. Again, the way England played, very much territory first. It didn't suit seeing him in the game, but what we did see is his defensive capabilities, which are without doubt the best out of any of this group. And talking of defensive capabilities, Sam Prendergast didn't have a great day in that respect, missing, I think, about half of his tackles, all told, which is quite a number. His passing, his kicking, his running game, though, is still outstanding. So this is a very difficult decision. But I'm going to get Russell back in there. Despite his goal-kicking fallibilities this week, 2 out of the 3 kicks were very difficult, with the last one put under even more pressure by the referee. He rarely has bad days with the boot. He's actually a very good goal kicker. So I'm going to ignore that. And I think just based his overall experience, he gets into the side now ahead of Prendergast and Smith for me. So Finn Russell in the number 10 jersey. The left wing, new contender this week with Ellis Mee having a fantastic debut for Wales. I mean, he's still obviously a long way off getting picked on the left wing for the Lions, but what a bolter that would be. Maybe if there's an injury or two, who knows? Van der Merwe had another outstanding game for Scotland against England again, as he always does. It's no surprise, but James Lowe just continues to contribute so consistently to Ireland performances. This week, batting the ball back in for Osborne to get the try, and just his kicking, his overall abrasiveness, getting into contact situations, leading the fight quite often from the left wing is so impressive. James Lowe on the left wing for me. Into the centres, and Ben Thomas back in the shirt that he's most comfortable in, had a really nice game for the Welsh. Henry Slade, decent outing for England. Tom Jordan, more impressive for Scotland this week, I'd say. He's impressing me more and more every week, and I think it's as he gets more into the system, more into playing 12 more consistently, and I don't think it was any surprise that Russell had one of his better games now that those two have had a bit more time on the pitch and time on the training paddock together. But Bundy Aki's impression off the bench for the Irish, it genuinely really took the game away for Wales. It wasn't even his carrying or his combativeness. It was like his work at the breakdown. It was everything. It was his fierceness. He just came on and added a level to that Irish performance. And honestly, I think it kind of changed the game a little bit when he came back on the pitch. Obviously, to take Ireland back up to 15 players as well. But his performance was outstanding. Aki is the number 12 for me. Another new contender in the 13 jersey this week, with Llewellyn playing again in his preferred position for Wales. And he was great. Again, in another good Welsh performance, he gave them go forward, he gave them a bit of direction, and still a long way obviously off from a Lions selection, but it's another contender, I would say, to add to the group. Ringrose Stocks dwindled a little bit this week, having got sent off. He's a fierce competitor. There was nothing malicious in that, of course, but he got it wrong and deserved to be sent off, in my opinion. Ollie Lawrence has good bits and bad bits, and yeah, it's hard. Some of his highs have been the best that we've seen for England, but it does have defensive lapses as well, like when Duhan van der Merwe skipped round him for Scotland's first try this week. Who doesn't seem to be having any lapses this tournament is Hugh Jones, who scored in this game, and man, he's looking... I've always thought of him as kind of a elusive, gliding kind of runner, but he's looking powerful at the moment as well, and really sort of mentally powerful, like really determined, physical, aggressive as well. So Hugh Jones in the number 13 jersey for me. Again, new contenders in the 14 jersey, and Tom Rogers for Wales. He's looking really lively, and he just seems to be involved in everything. And I like that about wingers. I like going, oh, look, that's Rogers again. Oh, he's there as well. He's doing this, he's doing that. Kyle Rowe also for the Scots had a similar game. Like, he's quietly becoming a contender, I would say. But for me, Tommy Freeman's the man in some kind of, where I said that England's tactics aren't made for him. Now, England aren't attacking a lot, but Freeman is still showing up all the time, getting his hands on the ball, brilliant at kick chasing, doing the basics, doing the core skills really well. He's got a bit of creativity about him as well, and I think Tommy Freeman is still the man in that number 14 jersey. At fullback, and really, we talked before, this was really Keenan or Kinghorn, but Blair Murray had a good game for the Welsh. He has looked a useful player previously, but I think now with Wales actually getting some attacking shape in play, getting the ball in front of him, he's looking more and more impressive every week. He had a good game, still not quite a contender here. And Keenan not playing this week, rested. And Kinghorn, I think, was back to something like his best at the weekend. I'd been a little bit critical of him based on, relative to his own standards so far this championship. But I thought he had a great game against England. And I think over the course of the 3 games, he now goes just slightly ahead of Keenan for me in this race for the 15 jersey. Alrighty, that ties it up. That is what I think. It's all so tight. It's all so interesting. 2 more rounds of the Six Nations to go. Who's going to go up? Who's going to go down? There'll be some changes for sure. Let me know in the comments down below. What do you think? Any players that I didn't mention at all that you think are contenders? Any players that I picked that you think are definitely wrong? Let me know, and we'll have a friendly conversation there all about it. Give this video a thumbs up while you're down there if you don't mind. It helps other great rugby fans like you find it. And you can subscribe there. You can watch that one next. And don't forget to get out and play.